Sharon Flood in the house. Yes.
Hey, Glenn, how's it going?
So, the folks that are on my channel know this, that I started this a couple of weeks ago, where I'm starting to interview people that are in different areas outside of my specific area here in the Villages and Ocala. And I want everybody to get a sense. I think it's good for your people, it's good for my people, just to get a sense as to what's happening in other markets, so they can get a little bit of a perspective. Like, is it only happening in my area? Like, that's obviously a question. What's going on with, real estate prices in Broward County? We're going to talk heavily about that, like South Florida,
Okay.
and everything you're seeing, like real estate and rental. So all of that stuff. So welcome.
Excellent. Good to be here.
Yeah. And actually, here it's kind of an interesting thing. Here is like also there, because I'm there too. So
Exactly. That's exactly right.
so what have you seen? What I've seen across the country and here locally is just a crazy ride. 2020, just like things kind of shut down for a month or two here in Florida, then absolutely crazy. What have you seen? What's happened in Broward County? Let's start there.
Yeah. So, pretty much we had a similar experience. So obviously the first month of the announcement of COVID, everybody was kind of paralyzed, not knowing what was going to happen. But, here in South Florida, we were one of the essential workers, and a lot of people, I guess, sitting at home and with no place to go, they started doing searches for homes. And it's insane how many homes not only went on the market, because of course people were afraid of, having strangers in their homes during COVID, but the demand was so strong. And I think some people just figured they'd give it a try. And our sales went up. My sales in my area went up over, it was one of my busiest years. It went up over
this year, 2021.
Oh my God, yes, in 2020. It's insane, Glenn. I think housing prices having gone up because of the shortage of inventory and the sheer volume of buyers that were looking for homes just drove our prices up year over year. From when I go back and look from October of last year to October of this year, we're at a 19.5% increase in home appreciation.
Okay.
And the volume is up. It's really, look, what I tried to explain to people is, if you want to sell, this is a great time to do it. You don't have the competition that you typically would have. And yet the demand is so strong. We're finding buyers that are moving into South Broward, into Broward County from all over the place. We've got a lot of people moving in.
Where are they coming from?
My gosh, they're coming from California. You can sell California. Their home prices are so much higher than ours. So a lot of them are coming here, putting large amounts of money down or paying cash for properties because they sold a property there for so much more. We're getting people coming in from the Midwest, from up north, the Northeast. We've had people coming down from Maine, from Massachusetts, Connecticut, a lot of New Yorkers and people from New Jersey. I think one of the other dynamics, Glenn, what happened was a lot of people realized that they could work from home. And when you can work from your home and your company will allow you to continue to do that, you are no longer are limited to being down the street from your job. So why not be in a place where it's sunny and warm year round and it's cheaper?
So is that what you found? Like, you found like people from out of state, not just like away, like not like Miami, like you're an hour away, 45 minutes an hour to Miami,
Right.
West Palm Beach, you're in between, that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Everywhere.
People have said to me, I don't have to live in XYZ state where my company is located. They let me work from home so I can live anywhere. So why I thought about it, where would I want to live? It's affordable here. It's more affordable than some of the other states. And it's gorgeous. I mean, 15, 20 minutes away from the beach.
Right. Blue skies, in the 70s, right? Like, it's just
Glenn, honestly, 80 degrees today with, low humidity. It's perfect weather. In fact, I was putting a house on the market, and I just finished a photo shoot a little while ago. And the owner and I were standing outside. He's like, wow, it's absolutely gorgeous. It is. we watch the news and we see these other states and they've got snow.
They take his house off the market. I'm not moving.
You know what? Actually, I want to tell you a story about that. So, I spend a lot of time with my sellers, helping them to prep their house for sale. And I feel the work that gets done before the house goes on the market is really critical to how it's going to show in the photos, which obviously is used for marketing it online. And so I met with this owner probably about a month ago, and he did some work to kind of straighten up and start to pre-pack and things like that. And I went there yesterday and added a few staging touches. And the most common response that I get from owners when we do this is, wow, I can't believe how good my house looks. Maybe I shouldn't sell.
It's a
They
dangerous
come
thing.
to, they're like, yeah, no, I guess I really wanted to sell.
So,
But
all
you made
right,
it
so
look great.
you're touching upon something. There's a lot of things we need to hit upon on this. And like, obviously, I want you to cover like the cities that you cover is one thing. I want you to cover that.
Okay.
But also you're covering something that, maybe when people are interviewing agents to list their home, you've got some separating and differentiating factors that you do. I want you to talk about those too, by the way.
Yeah. So, I guess it was around 2015 that I really started to look at what helps one home to sell for more than another home. You look at even the evolution of the resolution of the photos that we can put in MLS has changed really over the last few years. And what I realized was that the homes that show better online will attract more buyers. And when you start getting buyers competing for a home, they drive up the price. And so what had occurred to me was that when people are selling, if you could just meet with them beforehand and help them to understand how you live in a house is different than how you present the house for sale. And that if I can get them to remove a lot of the clutter from the kitchen cabinets, or the kitchen countertops rather, the bathroom vanities, the bedrooms, your dressers are usually just filled with stuff that we use on a day-to-day basis, but it doesn't translate very well into photos for listing your house for sale. And so it occurred to me that if I can get people to start to pre-pack and to prepare for that process, and if I can help them with that process, that we would end up getting better results. And it's translated to that. So I actually, Glenn, I'm a little different than a lot of other real estate agents. My garage is filled with staging items. I don't help with furniture, but I will help with accessories. I have a couple of the orchid plants and the knickknacks and the things that are, Z Gallery is my favorite place. Oh, good. Well, I'll use to buy some staging stuff, and I just take it from one listing to the next. I feel it makes a difference. All the owners have told me that they're shocked at just it's subtle difference, but it makes a difference. And I give an example, like one of the listings that I sold a couple of months ago was the same model home as two of the other homes that were listed in the same neighborhood. Same community, same identical floor plan. And one of them sold for 506, was not on the lake. But it was more updated than my client's house. My client's house was on the lake, less upgrades. We sold for 540. And another listing that was on the market at the same time that closed just a couple of weeks after us sold for 510. So it's the same house. Mine had fewer upgrades, but it sold for more. And why was that? I believe that it's how we prep the house for sale. So that when people walked in the door, the furniture wasn't, we had them shift the furniture because it was blocking the view of the lake. So just by shifting that around, just by updating the pillows with covers that are more trendy colors, it made the rooms pop. It made the view better. We took out stuff that really would have been a distraction in the photos, added a few things that enhanced the photos. I added towels and plans.
How analytical are you on that, by the way? I mean,
To me, it's down to a science. I feel these little things make a difference. We don't want to overwhelm the house. We don't want it to look like a florist shop, but we want to make it. Okay, so here's the thing. I think that buying a home is an emotional process, right? And most buyers will know within the first 30 seconds of walking in the front door, whether it's the home for them. So to the extent that we can get a lot of people wanting to see the house, right? So better pictures, better what's in the frame looks better, then I can drive more people there and I can make those people excited about the house when they're there. And that's what happens. And so for me, that staging process makes all the difference in the world. So I will usually give my clients a list of things that they can do themselves. Things like caulking around the tubs, things like, adding mulch. That's one of the most inexpensive things that you can do. And it gives you curb appeal, right? So when people pull up, instead of seeing a planter that's got just dirt and rocks,
it helps. It helps.
It may cost you $10 or $15, $20, but boy, what a difference it makes when people first walk up to your house. Pressure cleaning, you have the little cobwebs and all of this stuff, getting rid of all of that stuff. These are things that are really inexpensive to do, but it makes a difference in terms of how that buyer is going to experience that house from the minute they show up. My client had the windows cleaned. I recommended to a company. It cost him $185. They cleaned the windows. And he said to me, he goes, they haven't been cleaned in the 13 years I was here. He goes, what a difference it makes. These are little inexpensive things, Glenn, but they make a difference.
Clean your home, you're going to get more money.
You will.
Well, it's interesting. So, a lot of the same reasons why people move to your area, Broward County, the same reasons why they move here: lifestyle, weather, taxes. I mean, that's obviously, sometimes
no state income tax, right?
And we're not going to talk about it, but politics is playing a big part of why people are moving. We talked about California.
Absolutely.
That's a thing.
Sure.
So why are people moving away? Like sometimes
from South Florida? Great question. I think a lot of people that have been here for a real long time, it's grown. It's gotten a little bit more congested. There's a lot more traffic, right? So there are some folks, especially as they get closer towards retirement, what I find is that some people are just saying, you know what, I'd much rather have more land, or I'd much rather have it be a quieter neighborhood or less traffic. And so we are seeing some folks just take the equity from how much these homes have appreciated down here, and they can buy in your area, Central Florida, Northern Florida, a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's happening. We're seeing that, and then sometimes I think a lot of the younger people, like you said, I mean, it's millennials they're gonna be gravitating towards where's the action, what's going on, and they're coming in that direction. That's what's happening.
Yes, right. What's great about my area is that we're kind of right between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. So it's great. Like you say, the millennial crowd, for them, it's fabulous. They just hit the highway. They're in Miami in 25, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with Fort Lauderdale. So ideally, we're in a pretty good spot. And of course, for the people that are moving from states that are more expensive to here, it's a bargain. But like you say, there are some folks that literally are taking the equity that they have from here, and they're transitioning to places in Florida or even other states like Georgia, some of the surrounding states, where they can buy more home for less money.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So we talked about pricing, and I'm going to do a share screen with you just to kind of tell you what's going on here. And in fact, one of the things that I've seen is really, really fascinating is, the inventory. We all know that inventory has gone down. Like I think my people, the people that watch my show, they know that inventory has gone down. They know the prices have gone up. That's not new, but something I dug up recently, which I thought was really fascinating, was actually this. I saw that the number of listings that are coming on the market is not vastly different than what we saw a couple of years ago. It's really fascinating. So I want to show you.
I noticed a similar trend. Yes.
Yeah, what are you seeing?
Yes, I did notice that. In fact, I looked at like the sales from the last 90 days and the last 180 days, and I was actually surprised at the number of homes that actually sold
Really?
and the inventory that's coming on the market.
Is this similar? I mean, this is what we're seeing here in the villages. This is fresh stuff. I haven't shared this with anybody until I just pulled this up. I shared it with two of my agents actually just about 15, 20 minutes ago. But this is what I'm seeing right now is number of listings that have come on the market. Essentially what we're seeing is, back in, look at 2011, we saw 1,000 properties come on the market in the villages that year. And, it was pretty flat. Then we've seen 1,500, then it's gone, almost looks like, pretty much close to about 2,000, right? So it's been really interesting to see, let me bring that back up, right? Like it's interesting to see that the same amount of listings that have come on the market, maybe even actually more than 2019, 2018, but slightly less. Actually, look, you can't see the top of it, I don't think, slightly less than last year, but the amount of new listings coming on the market is there. So supply is coming into the marketplace.
That's correct. But the demand is still exceeding the supply.
Well, and actually what I've seen in our market is this demand, everything is kind of leveled off. So what happened, right? Like we saw 451 properties on the market, and then 2021 hit. 6 months when everything went crazy bananas, all the inventory just gets wiped out. And now it seems like it's more normal. Listings coming on the market, demand is there, so it's keeping pace. But the inventory has gone all the way down. Like I've shared this many times with my people, 72 listings on the market in the villages. And, just under, we're talking about like 920 in the Marion County, Ocala area. It's stayed steady over the last couple of months. A little bit of this, not too much fluctuation, but we're not seeing enough of a influx. We'd have to see twice as many listings come on the market to actually get back to the same kind of inventory that we had, a year or two ago. So
that is correct.
It's actually identical to 2019, except as if
but they're being absorbed faster because the demand is still pretty strong. But one thing I have noticed though, Glenn, I was working with another real estate agent doing an open house on his mother's home. She had passed away, and so they're selling the house now, and the number of buyers went down dramatically from what we were expecting.
Interesting.
So we're definitely starting to see demand taper off. I don't know whether it's because, a lot of the COVID restrictions are lifted and people are now focused on other things. And, we are coming into the holidays, but I was a little bit surprised because over the summer and in the spring, when we ran an open house, we had 30, 40 people standing out in the driveway waiting to get into the house.
Right.
And it wasn't that way with this home. But yeah, so it's interesting. I think part of that might have something to do with interest rates, right? So interest rates are trending up now.
Buyer fatigue.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Buyers, I think a lot of buyers got very frustrated by the market over the spring and last year because they felt like they were making offers on properties and they weren't getting accepted. And it, after getting turned down a couple of times,
I think everybody's seeing pretty much the same thing. We're seeing the same thing here in the villages, and days on market for the last 3 to 4 months has actually hit its bottom. It was September, August, September, October, 3 days on market was the average. November, it went up by 1 day. That's 4 days on the market. But the big difference is, I think you hit it right on the head, less competition. So what we're seeing is that I haven't seen that many escalation clauses in our marketplace like we did over the summer and the spring. Right.
That's correct. I think it's going to be a good balance also for some of the buyers that really got, pushed out of the market last year. I think a lot of the buyers that were FHA buyers, for example, oftentimes they just didn't stand a chance in my area, but now I think they will have an opportunity as we start to see more of a balance between buyers and sellers.
So what are you thinking is going to happen in 2022 next year?
Well, we are definitely seeing, we had certainly just in crazy appreciation. And I think we're starting to see that taper, right? So maybe month over month, we're about 1% instead of 2%. But I think that will probably taper off going into next year. I think you also, as interest rates start to trend up, that's gonna change the dynamic for what buyers can qualify for. I think, when you have a market sway so much in one direction, and it was very seller focused for the last few years and accelerated last year and this year, I think you're going to start to swing more back to the middle, where it'll be a little bit more balance between buyers and sellers, more of a normal market.
Are you finding, it's interesting, I ran this a couple of months ago, I did some charts from Keeping Current Matters where we're talking about buyer affordability, the affordability factor, and the affordability factor showed obviously it's not as affordable as what it was 8-9 years ago when the market tanked and you can buy stuff for a song, but it's still
affordable though, right? Now
yeah, so it's not as affordable as what it was maybe 10 years ago, but definitely more affordable than what we saw in 2006.
Correct. That is correct. And I think also because interest rates are so low, that helps with the affordability.
Yeah, look, that's a major factor, isn't it? Interest rates are probably a major factor to watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's interesting. Are you finding it's kind of like it's a good time to sell? It's also a good time to buy. It's weird.
It is.
Right.
It is, and it depends on what you're doing. I mean, obviously, for the folks that have owned their home for a long time, they've got a tremendous amount of appreciation. And depending on where you're going, I mean, if you're downsizing or you're relocating out of the area to a more affordable area, then it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to maybe cash out here and buy something and pay cash for it, or put a substantial down payment and put the rest of the money in the bank.
What's the rental opportunity?
Rental? Yeah. Glad, I will tell you, it shocked me how tight our rental market has become. Mm-hmm. And really was a surprise because the rent prices have gone up dramatically, but also the sheer volume of people looking for rentals has gone up. I had a townhouse that I put on the market in Plantation just 2 months ago. We had 81 showings. I've never had that many showings on any rentals that I've put on. 81 showings.
Why is that? I mean, is it prices of home prices going up, so people are like, wait, let me rent? What is that?
Yes, there are some folks that are trying to save money. There are some people, like you said, that had gotten frustrated with not getting their offer accepted, and they just decided that it makes sense to rent. But again, I think also because of the number of people that are moving into this area.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think households that got created, right? Look, you're a millennial and you were stuck in quarantine with your family. After a while, it's kind of like, I need my own place, right? And so I think you had a lot of people that came together, but now they're thinking, now I need my own place. And so I think that that's for the demand also for rentals.
How much, that makes me think, like, millennials were I blame the millennials. I blamed the millennials probably a year ago. I said millennials are the cause of this craziness, and in a way they are, because right, like that's part of it. How much new construction? I mean, look, you're not seeing as much new construction as we are. We've got more land, and we're literally 300 plus to 400 homes a month are being built in the villages. Plus,
wow.
Marion County's, there's tons of lots. It's just there's a lot of different areas people can build. So there's a lot of new construction in our area. What are you seeing? What does it look like in your area?
Broward County really kind of got built out in the 90s and the early 2000s. And so we don't have huge plots of land where they can build like in your area. Right. However, the few little small subdivisions that these builders can find, they're putting one of two things, or three things. They're putting luxury apartments, rentals, okay, a lot of rentals going up. They're luxury townhomes, so townhouses that are selling in the $400,000 and $500,000 price range, and luxury homes that are $750,000 to $2 million. That's what they're building. So even if a builder can get a little small plot of land, they'll they'll subdivision them out, maybe even if it's only 20 homes. But they're selling $1 million homes on those lots. It's crazy.
So,
But that's because they can't get really huge plots of land to build new big subdivisions.
so are these like leftover pieces of land that people just never did anything with?
Yeah, there's a couple of areas like Davie and Southwest Ranches, for example. Well, yeah, people own lots. And so they're buying up the lots, and some of them are, subdividing them, or some of them were just vacant for all these years. And big parcels, not big, huge parcels, but parcels where they can put, 20, 50, 100 homes. No more than that, though. We don't have a lot of big plots of land like you guys do.
Are you seeing any tear downs? Does that happen in your area? Like in certain areas, like cities, I'm seeing that.
We see tear downs closer to Fort Lauderdale, towards the water.
Okay.
There were some builders that were literally buying places that were on the canals right off the intercoastal, and they would tear down some of the older homes that may have been one-story homes or homes that were built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they tear them down and they put up big new, contemporary homes.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So give us the cities that you serve. All the towns.
Okay, so I gotta go everywhere in Broward County for the most part, but mostly Pepper Pines, Miramar, Weston, Plantation, Davie, Coral Springs, Parkland. Kind of that's my sweet spot. But yeah, I will venture into Boca every now and again, and into Miami-Dade County, just below my county. And yeah, so I've gone to Coconut Creek, and look, I'll go to Fort Lauderdale. It's just, I go where people want to go.
We're pretty much the same way. This is a massive area. Like from the villages all the way to Ocala, Gainesville, to Leesburg, to Citrus County. I mean, we go both ways. So it's kind of interesting that way. But a lot of, and the reason why I like to talk about this is like people just don't know, if you're from California, if you're from Michigan, from New York, they think we're close to Miami. Like, are you close to Miami? It's like, no. I mean, literally 4.5, 5-hour drive.
Exactly. I know. I hear people say that. They're like, oh, I'm going to be in Tampa. Maybe you could stop by. Like, okay, well, that's a 4-hour trip.
Let me fly to Atlanta. It'll be quicker. Right?
Exactly. So Glenn, where are the people moving into your area from? Because you've obviously seen an influx like we have, right?
Well, traditionally, this market has changed. First of all, we used to be a very seasonal marketplace. In other words, if you didn't do your business as a realtor from January through April, you were toast. Like, really seasonal and semi-resortish.
Okay.
This has become more of a year-round place where, our largest amount of closings actually have occurred during the summertime, June and July, over the last 5-6 years.
Interesting.
So that's a thing. So that's one thing that's changed. The other thing that hasn't changed, and then there's an addition. The thing that hasn't changed is that we're still getting a large influx, typically from people that are east of the Mississippi. Typically, like if you look at the tax rolls, the snowbirds, the people that are staying here, 3, 4, 5 months, and then going back up north during the summer, typically, and even people that are here full time, and we're getting a lot more full-time people, are typically from Michigan. They're from Wisconsin. They're from New York. They're from the Northeast, Indiana, Ohio, that type of thing. And always there's been a pretty, maybe 10, 15% of the population coming from South Florida to get away from the traffic and whatever. The big difference this year is that I feel like there's probably a 5 to 10% part of all these sales are people coming from the West Coast, and more specifically California, because of all the dynamics, because of COVID, because all the things that have happened. So, and you said the same thing. You're seeing more and more. That sounds like the same thing for you, no?
Yeah, it's funny. I met a couple that came from California. They're renting down here because they've got a family member down here, but they're moving up to your area. They're moving up to Ocala. They're buying new construction up there. Yep. And they were just going to rent down here near family just for the year while their house was being built.
but it makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
by the way, there's a lot of movement. There's movement from California for people that are selling their, 600, 800, 1.3, $1.5 million home, which is very average in many
Right.
places in California. And they're
Right.
moving to your area because, and we've talked about this before, Sharon. I feel like, your area is, I don't know, it's like the next San Diego, or, it's kind of like, by the water, weather's nice. Prices are definitely better than San Diego's prices. So
Mhm.
I'm seeing people do that and hearing about that. And then
Yeah, for
people
sure.
that they're saying, wait, there's too many people moving into our area. I want to get, like you said, retirees. They're getting empty nesters. Like, you know what? I'm tired of all the traffic. I'm not really interested in all the, all the things that's going on here. So let me go to someplace a little bit more, a little quieter. So
Mhm.
they're coming up here. So they're cashing out there and coming up here, same way people are cashing out in California. So it's
That's
interesting.
correct. Even the county that's north of me, Palm Beach County, I've noticed that a couple of my clients have moved up to Palm Beach County. Same reason, a little less congested. They can buy new construction in Palm Beach County that they can't buy here.
There you go.
And it seems to me, I don't know if you noticed this trend, because I know the Villages is kind of a 55 and over community, but there's a lot more.
By the way, mostly you don't have to be over 55. It's kind of the 80-20 rule here,
Right.
by the way.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot of, I've seen some of the builders in Palm Beach County that are building these really beautiful 55 and over, resort communities. So I think they're seeing this trend that a lot of these baby boomers, they're sitting on a home that maybe they've had for a bit, and while they downsize, they don't want to change their lifestyle all that much. They still want the activities, the tennis and the pickleball and all that kind of other stuff. And so why not get into a really beautiful community where it's active? And I've seen that a lot. I'm sure you must see that too, right?
Well, I think what's happened is that people are demanding more out of their communities. They want town centers, they want shopping, they want entertainment right there. They don't want to have to travel too far for it. Like even I'm sure in your area, I've seen a lot of this in South Florida, where there's a lot, there's these what do they call, Laguna, like there's like, they got these semi beach places where you can just, they're like a beach community, but it's like a fake beach and a fake lagoon, right? Like
Yeah,
and they're just okay, just go over and it's like and it's a party. It's like, okay, that's great. Same thing here. I mean, the Village is like a party every day. Every day is a Saturday. There's so much to do, 2,000 plus clubs, activities. It's not just golf and bingo. Like that's, it's
exactly.
so much more. And I think
in fact, I'm selling a house in Palm Beach, and one of the nice things about this particular community, it's a community called Westlake, and my clients are buying in the 55 and over subdivision. And that particular builder has built out a couple of these 55 and over, communities. And they have activity directors that literally will contact the neighbors to figure out who's interested in what. And they create clubs and all kinds of other stuff. So, you meet your peers. It's interesting. I spoke to a guy who lives down here, who's going to be moving to a community like that up in Palm Beach. And he's just thrilled. He said they've already been contacting him about, what kind of activities they like. And
that, Sharon, that's a big deal. What I found here is, and typically, look, when people are out there working, they have kids, they're in their typical work life, they don't have a lot of time to socialize. So they may have a handful of friends. What I've noticed is once they retire, all of a sudden it changes and they've got best friends for life, like the closest friends. And sometimes they're meeting up with people that they knew in kindergarten.
Right.
Like there's all that kind of stuff. So it's so interesting. So interesting. So how do people find you, Sharon? How can they find you?
Well, my website's SharonFlood.com. You can find me if you Google Sharon Flood.
Sharon will pop up. What's your phone number for people that see this and they may have a property in your area or they're going to buy something? What's your phone number?
954-650-2676.
Sharon, it was so much fun. We had a good time.
I know, it was great, Glenn. Good catching up with you. And it's interesting to see what's happening in other areas, like you said.
Absolutely.